Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Summer 2025 Mastermind. I'm really excited to mastermind with you. Thanks for joining us. You might be asking, what's a mastermind? Oh, very good question. A mastermind is a time that like-minded people come together to master something together, master content. So what we're going to do is actually kind of going to be like a book club on steroids, because we're going to master the new book, Winners Are Quitters, The Art of Thinking Differently. Have you bought your book yet? If you haven't bought the book, definitely go to the show notes and click on the link to purchase your book, because every week we're going to have a different assignment, a different number of chapters to read. And when I come back together with you, I'm going to dig into the content even a little deeper. We're going to maybe even ask some questions that aren't in the book to help relate and apply the content to your life. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you come back every single week and even go back and listen to the old episodes if you missed any. I'm excited to learn and grow with you. Welcome back. Welcome to the Mastermind. We are masterminding this book together, Winners Are Quitters. And this week we're going to dive into chapters 4 and chapter 5. Just a quick reminder, I would love to hear how do you like the book? How are you using the book? How are you digesting the book? Like, do you have a notebook? Are you writing down these questions? Are you writing down your answers? What's your process? I love hearing that kind of information, and I kind of steal some ideas sometimes. Okay, so let's dive right into chapter 4. The title of chapter 4, What Should I Quit? So the first question that I have for you is related to values, because here I talk about values here in this chapter. So I want to ask you, have you ever thought about what are your 3 to 5 value words that define you? Have you ever even looked at a list of options or talked to other people about their values? Now, a little spoiler alert, after the mastermind is over, I'm going to have another podcast episode where I'm going to give you the opportunity to see many options for value words, to hear some good stories of value words, and to choose your value words. I have an exercise that we can work through in a few minutes to pick your top 3 to 5 value words. So if you haven't done that already, definitely something to put some thought into. And the question that I have for you today related to your value words is, how do you currently, or how about this, how do your current commitments align with your value words? So as an example, I have 5 value words. By the way, it took me a while to figure these out. It isn't something that just, boom, came to me, right? My 5 value words. Number 1, it's challenge. I like to be challenged, and I like to challenge others, especially by asking questions. My next one is health. I'm pretty much obsessed with health things. Watch some other episodes of my podcast and you'll see. Okay, number 3 is empowerment. Ooh, that power in that word, I mean, empowerment, the word power is right there. But that gets my blood boiling, not in a bad way, in a good way, because if we're empowered, we are taking charge, we are owning whatever it is we want to own. That's powerful. All right, number 4 is efficiencies. So when I asked you earlier, how do your current commitments align with your values? My current habits align with this value. My mind is constantly in an efficient format. Okay, so for example, as soon as I leave my office, I'm going to look around and take something with me. I'll take my empty glass. I'll take a piece of paper. I have piles. I have piles because I don't want to make one trip upstairs every time I have something that goes upstairs. I'm going to make one trip when I have to go and take 10 things with me. My brain is always focusing in on efficient processes. So that makes sense. That's one of my value words. And then value word number 5 is faith. Faith. Everything I do is centered around Jesus Christ. I'm his servant, right? I am a follower of him, and I just have these kind of secretive challenges that I give myself of everything that I ever speak about has to align with the scripture somehow. So I have a notebook where I'll note my scriptures. I mean, that's my thing, but that's my thing. That's my value. I value my walk with God. I value the faith that I have because it's guided me through my whole life. Now here too, I gave you my 5 value words. I have a little acronym. This is how I remember them. So it's CHEEF. It's chef with an extra E. So challenge, health, empowerment, efficiency, faith. Whatever your words are, figure a way that you can remember them. Because when somebody asks, hey, what are your value words? Well, you don't want to say, I can't remember, because these are your values. So make sure you take some time and stay tuned in a few weeks to that next podcast episode where I'll just guide you through how to figure this out for yourself. Okay, question number 2 for chapter number 4. Within this chapter, I share that I needed to quit anything that compromised my values, my safety, and my goals. All right, so the question I have for you is, when was the last time you felt some internal conflict? Maybe you made a decision, or maybe you had an interaction and you just felt uneasy. Your gut feeling was not connecting with logic. When was the last time that you had some internal conflict? Can this internal conflict be traced back to a misalignment with your values, safety, or goals? Take time to think about this. Does this misalignment, does this gut feeling, does this uneasy feeling, does it relate back to a misalignment with your values or your safety? I mean, flying an airplane was a complete violation of my safety. Or maybe even your goals. You know, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Take some time to really, really define that. Okay, question number 3. By the way, now is the time to maybe pause the podcast, write out your answers while you're in the same headspace, and then push play again. Question number 3. Which of your goals are self-imposed obligations versus authentic desires? Maybe you said yes, and at that day it was a yes, but things have changed and you're no longer feeling it, so it's a self-imposed obligation. Sometimes I remember feeling this when my kids were younger and I was trying to be involved with their activities. I remember I said yes to being the book fair organizer, and I did it for a few years, and then they were growing into different schools, and then suddenly I had 3 kids in 3 different schools, and my commitment couldn't be the same. That was a time to empower somebody else with that opportunity. You know, is it really an authentic desire? The book fair was an authentic desire for me in the beginning. Did it turn into a self-imposed obligation? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with other people, and give other people opportunities too to be involved, right? Okay, final question here that I have for you related to chapter 4. Toward the end of chapter 4, if you have your book in front of you, I talk about the 3 R's. Actually, John Maxwell is the one who gave me these 3 R's. Requirement, return, and reward. So my question to you is what would it look like to apply these 3 R's to your current responsibilities? So think about your current responsibilities. Maybe it is running the book fair at the school. Maybe it is a church responsibility. Maybe it's a work with a client or a certain project that you're on. What are the 3 R's? What are the requirements? What's your return? And what's the reward? If you can't fully answer these, maybe you should quit. Maybe. Okay, let's move right on into chapter 5. These are short chapters, right? So we're going to group these 2 together this week. Chapter 5's title is What Not to Quit. There are things we should quit, and there are things that we should not quit. So here's a question that I think maybe you've already thought about while reading the book. I kind of hope you've already thought about this, but I'm going to ask it here in the podcast anyway. If you haven't thought about it, if you haven't written down your thoughts, make sure you do. The first question is when you've been tempted to quit, but something or maybe someone challenged you to keep going, what was that thing? What was that thing that you really wanted to quit, but someone else encouraged you, or something else encouraged you? What was the outcome? What was the outcome? So here's an example that's not in the book, okay? Besides the stories I share, here's another example for me. I remember the summer of my 8th grade year, actually it was probably before that, because we were figuring out what classes am I going to take in high school? The fun excitement of going to high school, right? Do you remember that? Do you remember back to that day? I totally remember this because I was, well, for one, making stories up in my head. For two, creating more worry than I needed to. I was trying to be responsible with my schedule, and I thought, you know what? I need more time to study when I'm in high school. So I think it's time I quit band. I played the flute, and I was a drum major, and I was a flag sergeant, and all that fun stuff. But that's fun, and I think I need to get down to business. So I'm going to quit band. I'm taking it out of my schedule. Well, my parents needed to proof my schedule before I submitted it, and my dad said, now mind you, my dad's very quiet, right? He's very just quiet, keeps his opinions to himself. But this time he said, I want you to reconsider the band thing. I remember being in high school, and band was my release. Band was that time period where I could just have fun, and I was okay. I listened to my dad, and I had an amazing 4 years of band. I mean, we traveled to Florida. We marched in the Disney parade. We had so much fun. I not only played the flute, and I was first chair, and sometimes I was second chair, and then I'd challenge the person back to first chair. And I also tried the trombone my senior year. It really was a release. And I'm so glad that when I was really tempted to quit and be responsible, that someone challenged me on that a little bit, and even just gave me a highly recommended opportunity. So thanks, Dad. I'm thankful for that, because that was very needed during my high school years. Oh, and by the way, those stories I was making up about high school, they weren't really that bad. It wasn't really that bad at all. Okay, the second question that I have for you. How do you discern the difference between something that's hard and something that's really not meant to be for you? Things are going to be hard, and anything that's worth it really is hard. I'll go back to playing of instruments. I played piano. I took lessons for, I think it was 11 years. That was hard. You know what was hard about it? Practicing 30 minutes every single day. I mean, really, that was the hard part, because when you do practice for 30 minutes every single day, you just naturally get good. Well, getting good and being good, that was fun. It was fun to go to solo ensemble contests and win a state award and a first. But that was hard. And there were so many years, weeks, times when I just wanted to quit. I totally wanted to quit. But I didn't. Partly, again, because of my great parents and grandparents who enjoyed when I played. Was piano playing and playing any kind of musical instrument, was it meant for me? Well, yeah, it really was. And it was a great opportunity for me to learn how to press through hard. Now, what wasn't meant for me? Being a pilot. That was not meant for me. I tried it, I quit, and I don't regret it. Okay, some examples for you. So make sure you write down your examples. All right, question number 3. We're going to do some reflection time here. I want you to reflect on somebody who did not quit on you. How did their belief in you shape your growth? Belief is a powerful thing, especially when someone else has that belief in you. Sometimes we really do need to borrow other people's belief. If they believe in me, okay, then I guess I can do it. We need to borrow their belief. So when was the time when somebody did not quit on you? Who was that? What did they do? What did they not quit on? What did they challenge you on? Do some reflection on that, because those are the people that that we want to emulate. We want to be like them because they gave a lot to us. All right, question number 4. Within the chapter, I talk about the need to hold your image or hold their image. So my question to you is what image of yourself or your future self do you want to hold right now? Especially when challenges arise. Because like I said earlier, challenges are going to arise. Things get hard. Things aren't worth it if they're not hard. So whatever your image is, it'll be hard and it'll be worth it. Have you ever defined that image? You know, something that I did with our Sunday school kids when I was a Sunday school teacher, and I remember some of my kids were in the class. We had a time where we got the crayons out and we got the big pieces of paper and we said, you know what, I want you to draw a picture of your future spouse. Think about what color hair, what color eyes, what's the height of you and them, how many kids do you want, where do you want to live? Just think about all of that and create a picture. Define that image that you're looking for. But here today, I want you to think about what image do you have for yourself? Draw a picture, get the crayons out, write it out, whatever needs to happen. All right. Final question that I have for you today. Question number 5. Are there any people in your life right now that you feel like quitting on? Maybe it's an acquaintance, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a family member, maybe whomever. Do you feel like they're not the best fit for you, or it's not healthy for you to be around them? You really just want to quit on the relationship? Well, what would it look like to hold their image instead? Now this chapter number 5, and especially the end of the chapter, this is a very common stumbling block for people. Because here in the chapter, if you haven't read it yet, here's a spoiler alert. What should you not quit on? People. Don't quit on people. And I share some great stories and examples, but there are people that just aren't healthy for us. You know, some people are toxic. Maybe they're, I don't know, gossiping in the office. We really should probably choose a wiser person to connect with, right? Or maybe they just complain a lot, or maybe they're grumpy and that just gets me in a grumpy mood. Or maybe they just participate in some extracurriculars that you're not a fan of and you don't really appreciate being around them when they're doing that. How do you handle that? How do you not quit on them? How do you hold their image, but yet distance yourself for your own health, for your own sanity? Well, first of all, hold their image doesn't mean that you have to allow this to happen when you're around. Okay, you have choices, and there's 2 things you could do. Now, in the chapter, I talk about asking questions, but sometimes you do have to just make some requests. You know, maybe a request would be, I don't feel comfortable talking about this topic. I'm struggling keeping my own mind positive. Can you help me by keeping our conversations in a positive tone? That's a request with a question, right? Or maybe they're just questions you need to ask because you have a feeling that they don't want to be this way either. So maybe some questions would be, you know, hey, let's talk about what's going well in your life. What are your goals? I mean, that's totally redirecting. That's totally changing the subject maybe, but it is getting away from whatever toxicity you want to get away from. So I challenge you, don't quit on people. Hold their image, which is definitely going to challenge you to think differently, to figure out some questions to ask, to figure out nice ways to request some things. All right, my friends. Next week's assignment is to read only chapter 6, just 1 chapter for next week. I'm excited to see you then. Be great, my friends. I hope this topic has challenged you to think differently as you strive to grow from success to world class. Please follow this podcast, share it with your friends, and follow me and Unity Consulting on all social platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our website, unityconsultingllc.com. I look forward to connecting with you next time to challenge your habits so that you are more efficient and fully empowered.